It's that time of the month again, Leo. Thanks for joining me. I'm Dadhichi. It's June 2020. This is your horoscope. I'm going to animate it now so that we can see exactly how all of these retrograde planets this month, and there are quite a few of them, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter and Pluto, notwithstanding the nodes. And then later in the month, Mercury also is going to go into its retrograde movement. Saturn's important for you particularly because of the influence it has on your relationships, ruling at least partly the seventh house here, and it is in this seventh house now. So a lot of your relationship issues, if you've got any, and don't we all, are going to start coming to the surface for you to deal with. The fifth house is the house of love affairs, and you'll notice also on the 6th, the full moon taking place here. So both of your romance sectors are activated this month. There we have the full moon, and also in the company of Venus, which is retrograde. This 11th house, where the sun is with Venus, has to do with your social affairs, and so the full moon is going to cast its light on that area of your horoscope as well. The retrograde Venus there's not fantastic. It can show second thoughts, second guessing yourself on some of the decisions you've made, some of the choices of friendships. So rethink that. Here we have the cluster with the moon, Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto on the 8th and 9th. Here you can see this relationship component of your life will be strongly triggered at this time of the month. There we have the Mars and Sun square, 8th house, 11th house. This again has to do with friendships. And because the 8th house is finances and shared resources, we see the potential there for disagreements associated with your social collaborations. Be careful with money at this time, especially with that retrogression. When Mars receives the influence of the moon on the 13th, there with Neptune, that's when your banking needs, your finances, the money that you share with others, especially if you're in a business partnership, will also be triggered as well. Keep your eye here out on Mercury. It will, around the middle of the month here, start to slow down in its movement, and that means it's getting ready to go stationary and into its retrograde movement. Mercury here is your finance planet as well. There in the 12th house of expenses. It's not a great month for you to really, you can earn money, but you may be spending it just as quickly. Some abrupt or shift change in your work is likely when the moon up here on the 18th makes contact with Uranus. Again, this has to do with your partnerships, your marriage. Fortunately, it moves into a favourable phase here. You see the blue lines here, Leo. These are the trine aspects. There you have the retrogression of Mercury taking place. There in the just last 10 days of the month. So it's important that you look at how you're managing your finances. Retrogression increases the power of a planet, but of course, if that planet has gone to the 12th house, and there we see also a new moon on the 22nd in this very area of your horoscope. I'll have to make a note of that. New moon, 12th house for Leo. That's charitable acts, it's spirituality, it's foreign affairs. It's also got to do with hospitals, asylums, and so that could be, by virtue of the fact that Mercury rules your 11th house of friendships, having something to do with a friend who may not be well, someone who's having some trouble in their lives. It's a charitable act on your part. And because Mercury, ruling this 11th house, is retrograde, there's every likelihood that that is going to dominate your mental landscape quite a bit. There's Moon transiting in the last few days, the 2nd, 3rd and 4th houses, finance. Then we have the communication and negotiation planet. Look at the opposition to Mars there on the 28th. That is a hair trigger one. continues there into the third house of communications and contracts on the 29th. The moon actually completes its journey on the 30th. After this, Venus has gone into its direct motion. So it's really in the last few days of the month that some of those social elements I talked about may start to settle, and you can put that behind you. I've put together the yearly, monthly, weekly and daily horoscopes for you folks. If you want to go in there to astrology.com.au, you can take what I've said today and sort of fit that contextually with what's happening in the bigger picture. It's been a tough time. I hope you're all staying safe. If you're needing any specific or specialized services, drop me a line here. I can show you how we can go about doing your horoscope and sitting down one-on-one and looking at your horoscope based upon your time and place of birth. Don't forget to subscribe. Stay safe, and I'll see you next month. Bye-bye now.